Welcome to Unstoppable, where dreams turn into plans and plans turn into powerful action. Hosted by Paula Swain, financial planner, business owner, grandma, and queen of reinvention. This show is for women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. We'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll tackle the messy, beautiful, in-between parts of life that no one really talks about, but we all live through. This is Unstoppable.
Hi, and welcome to Unstoppable, the show where we dream, grow, and thrive. I'm Paula Swain, financial planner and founder of the Financial Center for Women, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about two words that tend to trigger a lot of women, budgeting and credit. But what if those words could feel empowering instead of overwhelming? To help us shift the script, I've invited my good friend, the amazing Eboney Byrne, to the show. She's a financial educator and money coach with Liberty Financial Services. And she's here to help us get clear, confident, and in control of our money. So welcome, Eboney.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So why do many women feel, so afraid or ashamed when it comes to budgeting, and how do they turn that around?
Great question. So really, I think one of the main reasons that women feel shame around their money and how they manage their money is because that's what we've been taught. We've been taught that we're bad with money. We've been taught that anything we want to do with our money is frivolous. Instead of being told, you know what, you get to do what you want with your money. So that's the difference, I think, and that's why women have so much shame around it, and it's hard for them to make plans. It's hard for them to feel good about the things that they do.
So you're telling me I can go out to dinner, I can buy new shoes, you're telling me I can do all that.
You can.
But
if you budget for it.
If you budget for it.
You have to budget for it. So that's the key. You can't just do anything. You can do anything you want, though, with the right budget.
So how does somebody even start that budgeting process? Because I know it's overwhelming when you think about trying to look back at your expenses and say, oh, actually, I did that recently.
Ooh.
So I looked back at my expenses over 2024 and there was a little bit of guilt, a little bit of shame because I was like, are you kidding me? I spent that much money, and usually I'm really good with my money.
Yeah.
But I bought a house, and so things that happen. So one, how do you overcome that? And then how do you even just start the process?
Yeah, I think the first part is giving yourself grace. Okay, so we are working women generally, and however you get your money, you deserve to have it. And that means you deserve to have a life that you want to live. That means you get to build it. So that's the first part, having grace. And then the second part, and what I always start with my clients in doing, is creating a goal before you start looking at your numbers. So what do you want your life to look like? Then you look at the numbers. If you have a plan, then it makes it easier to stick to and create a budget.
Yeah, that's what I did when I was, looking for a home. I sat down with my mortgage broker friend who will be on the show in a couple of weeks, and then we talked about what fits into my budget, and then I had to then kind of go back and then incorporate that in my budget to see if I had to make cuts or if I had to earn more, whatever that was going to look like if I wanted that dream house.
Yeah, I mean, that's critical, and I think most people skip that part because when you think budgets, you think restriction, you think all the things you can't do anymore. Generally, people aren't taught to build their budgets while dreaming. So dream first, create that goal, and then you get to fund the dreams that you have for yourself.
And usually when you dream it first, for some reason it happens. It just really happens when you envision and manifest what something is that you want.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about credit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important to maintain a good credit score, but it's also important to not get into debt.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about it is, and especially as women tend to have more debt because we take on family obligations. When you have post-divorce life issues, then women generally have more debt because they typically earn less. And if you don't have a plan leaving that divorce, you may overspend because you're used to the two-income environment, or you're used to having more money. If you stayed home, you're still used to having a different lifestyle. So it's trickier when it comes to credit. And also, I think what the other thing that happens is that women tend to care for children. They care for their family members, or they want to help everyone. So then they'll extend credit to people that they probably shouldn't be doing.
Oh, that's not credit. That's a loan never getting paid back.
Exactly. And then that's what ruins your credit, right?
Yeah.
Because I did a similar thing with a family member and it really came back to bite me. So I think sometimes when you improve your life, you want to help others around you, and that can get really dangerous.
So what are some strategies that if you have accumulated debt, what are some strategies to get out?
The first thing is to get serious and look at it. Like look at all of it. That's scary. People don't want to do that, but really sit down and look at it. Once you can see it all laid out, numbers don't lie, right? People do. So if you look at your numbers,
Okay, that's a good one.
yeah, but it's the truth because we can lie to ourselves and we can
Correct.
say, oh, it's not
Yeah.
that bad. It's okay. But if you really look at it, you can't fool yourself anymore. So once you have the actual numbers, then you get back to what I said at the beginning, create a plan. So once you say, okay, I have X amount of debt, I personally am a fan of the snowball method. Some
Okay.
people prefer the other one. So the snowball method is where you put most of your focus on your smallest debt first, pay the minimums and everything else, and then just roll it up as you pay them off. I like it because psychologically it feels better.
Yeah, it's because you get that debt, even if it's a small debt, you get
Mhm.
that paid off. It's just one less thing that you have to
One
worry
less
about.
thing, and you can celebrate that.
But there is the other method, the avalanche.
Avalanche, yes.
Yes.
Which also works too. So the avalanche is where you pay the debt with the highest interest rate first. Sometimes, depending on how much debt you have, it's not a big difference. Sometimes it's only a couple $100s. So for me, depending on what my clients want to do,
Mhm.
I let them recreate a plan based on their strategy, not my own. Personally, I like to snowball because I like to just see things fall off. And it may take a little longer sometimes that way, but it works well.
So I sat with a client the other day. She had accumulated quite a bit of debt,
Mhm.
and so we had to sit down and look at what her current expenses were,
Yep.
how much more she could afford to put down on that debt.
Yeah.
And then we did. We looked at all the different options. And for her situation, we ended up looking also at a debt consolidation
Yes.
loan because that would give her a monthly
one
payment
payment.
and a definite payoff time.
Yeah.
And she felt more comfortable with that than having to, manage
A
paying
bunch
off
of little
that
things.
debt.
Yeah, and I love that. Sometimes, like if you're in a credit position where you can afford, like when you can actually get a credit consolidation loan, I love that. I think that is the best way to go before that same reason. Two things though, you have to decide, are you going to close all of those accounts
Wait a minute. Wait, let's
or
talk about that
use
for a
them?
second. Let's talk about that for a second because if you close them, it affects
Yes,
your credit score.
it does.
But so you leave them open,
Leave
but you
them
don't
open,
use
don't
them.
use them. And so for some people, that's where the temptation falls in, right? Because they have it open. So if someone has an actual spending problem, it may be better to take that temporary hit by closing those accounts than to keep them all open, tempting them because they're like, oh, I have all this free credit now that I could use if I need to. So it's definitely something to consider. But I do think if you are able to, a credit or debt consolidation loan is fantastic. Just be smart now that you have all those accounts paid off.
So how often do you recommend people look at their credit report?
Honestly, I think now I'm nosy, and so I look at mine. I look at mine like once a month because I'm just curious to see like what's happening. But for your peace of mind, honestly, you don't really need to look at it more than once every, I would say, 6 months. And the reason I say that is because there is some fluctuation in there, and it will drive you bananas. It's like watching your portfolio. Like it's not a good idea. It will go up and it'll go down. Now, if you are trying to buy something,
Mm-hmm.
or that's different. You're probably going to look at it a little bit more intensely. But for the most part, just looking at it once or twice a year should be good to make sure no one's like running up any credit in your name or causing any other issues. That's how I suggest people do it. But most people have credit karma. So they'll look at it, they'll get a notification, they'll look at it, and they'll look at it every day or once a week.
I'm trying to think of the last time I looked at mine. It must be a long time because I don't
Probably.
remember.
You don't remember. Probably when you were buying your house.
I didn't look at it. My friend Mark looked at it.
I love that for you. Yeah. See,
So I didn't have to look at it.
I look at it all the time.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better to just look.
Yeah.
But some people don't ever want to look.
So do you look at your investments all the time too?
No.
That makes
I
no
do not.
sense.
It doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense at all. Like I might look when I get the monthly statement, and even then I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. I'm not taking it out right now, so I don't look.
Yeah. No, I have all my credit frozen. Do you
Yeah.
recommend that?
I do recommend that, especially after a divorce or like a separation when you're separating yourself from someone financially, just to make sure that they don't go off and do anything crazy in your name. You can absolutely do that. And also freezing your children's credit reports, because people sometimes will do things in their kids' names. Or if someone gets a hold of it, you won't know until they're 18 or you start getting something in the mail. So that is something useful to keep in mind.
Okay, so let's go back to budgeting.
Yeah.
So I've never budgeted. That's not true, but I'm just going to say a story. So I've never budgeted before,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to get started. So what are a few tips that you can share
Yeah.
that makes it a little bit easier?
So, like everything, I'm a broken record here. Have a plan. Like, what is your plan for your budget? What do you want your life to look like? So when you're thinking of, okay, I'm going to sit down, is it sadness that you're mad or like whatever, right? So you say, all right, this is what I want my life to look like. Then you say, all right, how much money do I have coming in? How much money do I have going out? And then what's the difference? Once you see what those numbers are, that's what gives you the ability to say, okay, I can put more towards savings. I can put more towards debt. I can put more towards whatever other thing you're trying to do, pay off your house faster or whatever. So those are the steps. And then the final step really, well, two steps. The next step is to find a way to track it. Do you want to do it on a spreadsheet, on paper? Do you want to use an app? There's several apps out there. Find something that works for you. Could be like a combination. I do a little bit of both. Personally, I use a spreadsheet for myself and my clients, but I also have like to see what's happening, I'll have like a digital app that I'll use. So I use both. And then celebrate. So you want to build joy into your processes. So part of that is I like to have money dates. I call them money dates. So where you
I
sit
want a
down.
money date.
I know it sounds fun, but
So
it's
if I
just
come to
me.
your money date, will you be giving me money?
No, that's not how it
Oh,
works.
then I
I
don't want to
wish.
come.
I know, right? It's more just me sitting down with my money. So twice a month, I sit down, go through my budgets. What have I paid? Where am I at in my goals and all of that? And it's like a little money date, 30 minutes, sit down and have fun with it. It's on my calendar. So then that way I can keep track of what is happening in a
Right.
proactive way instead of a reactive way. And then celebrate myself at the end of the month. Did I hit my goals? Did I not hit my goals? You still celebrate for tracking, right? Like there's always something to be proud of, and that can be maybe an ice cream, maybe just a little dance around the house, just something fun.
Yeah, I like to dance around the house.
I do too.
Okay, let's talk about emergency accounts. Most people don't have enough for even a simple emergency.
Yeah.
And it should be something that's in your budget. It should be an automatic savings.
Yeah.
First and foremost, pay yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Contribute to your retirement plans.
Yep.
Do your other savings goals first before you do your normal living expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you recommend that a woman have
Oof.
in her emergency account?
Yeah. So this one I think is really important. I think that you should have a few accounts, and this is going to sound crazy probably, but I think that everyone needs to have an oh crap fund.
Oh.
Okay. So the oh crap fund is generally going to be up to $500. This is the thing when you know you've gone through like your day, anything that you're going to say, oh crap, I forgot this. That's what that fund is for. So that's going to be for small, little inconsequential things that will come up. So I like a $500 maximum in that, and you get to decide what that fund is for your comfort. I do also think you should have a rainy day fund, and that's your stopgap fund, and that can have about $1,000 in it, no more. And then your emergency fund. The emergency fund is going to have the normal, what we ask, the 3 to 6 months or longer savings. Now, most people hear that and they think, I can't have 3 accounts. Like that's a lot, but it really isn't if you think about it, because what keeps people from not being able to build that emergency account is because they have the oh crap moments and then they have those rainy day moments that are bigger. So if you build in like, they're kind of like a little moat around your emergency fund is how I look at them.
Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it.
And then your emergency fund gets to be untouched when you have life happen. So that's kind of how I suggest that. If people find it difficult to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved, start with these accounts. Start with your oh crap fund, then you move on to your rainy day fund, and then you can start building. So then at least while you're building here, you've already got this built in to keep you moving forward.
Yeah, my friend Shannon says all the time, you just having it $1,000 in a bank account, because most emergencies are $1,000 or
Yep.
less. And the biggest way to get into debt is when you do have emergencies and you don't have that money, and
Yeah.
then you have to use your credit card, and then if you didn't have it before, you're not going to have it months down the road to pay it off, and then everything just starts to escalate from there.
Yeah, and then you feel trapped, and then you feel stuck. It's much better if you have your little moats and then you have your bigger funds. You'll be able to get that bigger fund there faster. And it's tax time now, but even tax time, bonus time, birthday money, inheritances, great time to take a little bit and do something fun for yourself, but then fund those accounts as well.
Yeah, I don't get that tax refund, so I don't know what that feels
I know.
like.
But people do. A lot of people do. So
Yeah.
if they're getting any of that or just bonuses or when you get a raise, like you funnel the extra into those accounts, there's so many creative ways to build those funds that don't take away from your current income and the current money that you're using, but you have to just get a little creative with it.
Well, I think there's also different ways to generate cash.
Yes.
Like when you think about, I mean, Facebook Marketplace is
Yeah.
huge for selling stuff that you don't want. I'm working with a coach, and one of the things is declutter.
Yes.
You know, so if you declutter your household, it actually gives you a lot of peace of mind. So as I'm starting to declutter, I'm seeing things that I want to donate and things I can potentially sell.
Mm-hmm.
And those things that I can sell, you could then turn around and add to your emergency
Yeah,
account.
absolutely.
But don't spend it to buy something else that clutters your house.
There's that part. There's that part. And that's kind of, we're in a consumer culture and that's our first instinct is to buy something. So I think like training ourselves to do something different, it's a habit and you do have to break it, but it can be done if you really want to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be.
It can be.
Yeah, as I hear that, you know, we all have habits that we wish we
Mm-hmm.
could break. And yeah, you just have to, it's not willpower anymore. It just has
No.
to be something within your side that you just make that commitment that you're going to make that change.
Yes. And you know what? Like create a plan to do it. Any habit we have, we didn't just get it on its own. Generally, we don't have that. So we had to have done repeated action to get there. So now just schedule it in.
Yeah, I think funny is about that habit forming when, do you ever play that Wordle?
Yes.
Okay, did you can see how many days you've
Mm-hmm.
actually played Wordle? And
Yeah.
you know, sometimes I've got, 50 or 60 days in
Mm-hmm.
a row, and that's a habit.
It is.
And if I can make Wordle a habit, what
Yeah.
other habits can I make?
So many. So many.
Except that one doesn't have any consequences.
It doesn't, but you know what? It's kind of one of those things you've stacked that habit. So if you are into habit stacking, right, that's a thing. So you probably do Wordle when you're drinking your coffee or if you're in the bathroom or whatever. You're stacking it with some other habit, right?
Do you do Wordle in the bathroom?
Yeah, I play Words with Friends in the bathroom too. And so, but it's a habit, right? So when I'm in there, I'm like, I should probably see what word I can do because it's part of that habit. So maybe like levering it with other things, like layer stuff that you're already doing. That's how you're going to get those habits to become a thing. That's why I like the money date instead of sitting down. Sitting down and do my budget sounds way less cool than a money date.
Oh, and you can have wine with the money date.
I like to have wine with my money date, a little bourbon sometimes.
Oh,
Depends on how the money date's going to go.
Yeah. I love bourbon.
I do too.
Yeah, we should have bourbon one day.
Me too.
Okay. But if you're married
Yes.
or you have children, you should also include them in your money day.
Yes, I do. So I have a daughter. I'm divorced, but my daughter is 13 now, and she's tired of talking to me about money. But I do include her on like the monthly budget. This is where we are. This is where we are going to be. These are our goals so that she understands what that looks like in reality and what she gets to do. She's going to private school next year for high school.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm so excited and proud of her. And so she knows how much that costs. And so she's like, okay, I want to help. And of course, my first instinct is as a mom to say, no, don't do that. But then I said, no, if you want to help, then you can help with some like ancillary things, like help with like stuff for events or things like that. And so she started her own savings account to help do that.
Now, does she work?
She's 13, so she does work with my mom, and then like she babysits and she does that kind of stuff. So right now she spends all of her money on books, but which we support that. But she has her savings and she's got it set aside. So I love that for her. So that's what she wants to do, and I support that. But teaching our kids to be responsible for themselves and for other things is fantastic.
So if you had to give one small, maybe large tip
Yeah.
for anybody that's watching today.
Yeah.
When it comes to money and taking control of your money, especially for women, that they can take that emotional part of that out and start to look at it as money is just a tool.
Just a tool.
To get to where it doesn't have anything to do with your self-esteem, who you are, nothing. It has nothing to do. It's just a tool to buy your groceries and pay your bills. So how do you take that emotional part of that? Like I just did that very easily. I can say that because that's what I believe. It's just a tool. But if I don't believe that, how can I change that so that I can thrive?
Yeah. So one of the things that I had to do for myself, but I do with my clients all the time, is taking, instead of, people will tell you all the time to take the emotion out of it. But what if you actually lean into that emotional piece and know who you are? So that's why I am always saying create a goal, create a plan, because you'll fail at a budget, but you won't fail on your goals. You're less likely to fail on your dreams. It's still the same budget process. It's still working. The money, the numbers are still doing the thing, but when you're tired, when you're annoyed, when you have a setback, you're a lot less likely to quit on yourself when you are working towards a goal. You're working towards that vacation. You're working towards that car. You're working towards paying off your house or building your savings. So having that goal and keeping it front and center. So if that means having it on your calendar, putting a sticky note somewhere, like printing up a flyer, something that you can keep it and keep yourself motivated, that is the best way to do it. But when we try to take the emotions out of it, that's where people get stuck. And then when they fall, when they fail, because we're human and we're going to fail, when they do, then they quit because they think to themselves, well, I'm not good at this. Everybody was right. I do suck at this, right?
Yeah.
So build into that, lean into who you are and just like build upon who you want to be and then chase her.
Yeah, a lot of what you just talked about is your mindset.
All of it's mindset.
Yeah, and I think it's our show next week. We have Tara, who's a coach, and we talk about mindset. And that's like huge. When I'm working with my clients, when we spend a lot of time on the mindset, because if you don't think you're worthy, you don't think you're lovable, or if your mindset is for money is scarcity because your parents told you never had enough, or money doesn't grow on trees, and you had that and you take that into adulthood, it kind of I'm sure they want handicaps you in some way of going forward. So yeah, mindset is big.
Huge. When I sit down with a client, whether it's for a 2-hour session or a 6-week session, the first thing we do is mindset. I mean, the first thing we do is talk about our money story and dig into our history with money and how we've dealt with it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that part, nothing else will work. It just doesn't. I would love to say that it does, but it really, really doesn't. And that's the part that most people don't talk about, and it's not taught at all.
Well, women don't talk about money.
Not enough.
No,
not enough.
I mean, we talk about our kids. We talk about our well, we don't have husbands, so we don't have one to talk about. But we talk about their spouses, work, other girlfriends, but they don't talk about money.
They'll talk about how much things cost. Generally, like, oh, this purse was this much, right? Or this was so cheap, right? And it's got pockets. But we don't talk about, how it's got pockets. But we don't talk about how we're funding these things. Because again, in America, we're trained not to talk about money because it's private, it's shameful. And really all that is just designed to keep us stuck. Because if I don't know what you've got going on and you don't know what I've got going on, then we can have this FOMO energy and I can feel like you're amazing and I suck at life. Right?
Right.
Instead, if I know that you have had challenges, but you've overcome them, and if you see what I'm doing, that changes that entire conversation. And now everyone can be more empowered instead of feeling less than. So
what a great way to look at that.
Having these conversations is really important, which is, part of my mission, and I know it is yours too, to like destigmatize all of this stuff. Because you can see all of the glitz and the glamour, and that person's over there drowning in debt. Like they can't even buy cheese. You have no idea,
it's
right?
Like that, the big, huge house you pull up, and you walk in and there's a couch.
There's a couch and like a blow-up mattress somewhere, right?
And then they got like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of debt.
Yeah, and so I think it's really, really important to really dig into who we are as a person. Let's get comfortable with me and my situation, and then talk to my friends. Let's talk about our money. My friends and I talk about money all the time, and it's not like, oh, a scary thing, but it was at first.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I think, carries a little bit of shame or guilt with, did I do enough? Did I save enough? Do I have enough? That I don't want to express it to you because I don't want you to judge me.
Right. Right. Which
So
is
you
why
gotta-
I start with your friends. Hopefully.
Well,
Some friends are not friends, right? And you'll
Correct.
find out really quickly
Correct.
if they are or not, especially when you're doing well. But you'll definitely find out who your friends are when you're not doing well. And that's the part that I think people are afraid to find out. But I would much rather know that my friends and my family that are around me know me and they know the ups and the downs. So then if I say no to something, they don't think I'm now like I don't like them or there's some other
Right.
problem. It's just, no, I have other goals. I have other
Correct,
things that
yeah.
I'm working towards right now. So I can't go do this thing with you, but I still love you. That's a conversation that if you're clear about what you have happening in your life, it's a much easier conversation to have.
So tell me what you work with a client and then how somebody could reach out to you.
Oh yeah, great question. So I I work one-on-one and I do group coaching with my clients, and they can reach me through my website, which is libertyfinancialservicesllc.com.
But what do you do for them?
What do I do? Oh, yay. So I generally, what we work on is helping people heal their relationship with money so that they can move forward and build the life of their dreams. So that is what I do with my clients. I work primarily with women, but I also work with couples. I just had an amazing couple that I worked with. They were fantastic. And just anyone who really is ready to do the work, because like I said, we do the emotional piece first. So some people that freaks them out because they don't want to look at their relationship with money. They don't want to look at the history. They don't want to dream. I've had clients who were afraid to dream about with their money, which was surprising a little bit. So helping people just uncover the dreams that they have for themselves.
I can understand that. I could imagine that somebody that maybe as a child was told that, they couldn't have or they couldn't achieve or whatever would have a really difficult trying to dream.
Very difficult. And so I had a client who really wanted a really, really nice espresso machine, like this big fancy thing. She could more than afford it, but she had been told like that's a frivolous purpose. She wouldn't buy it. But by the time we were done working together, she ended up buying it for herself, and she would send me pictures of her with her like with her coffee, and she was so proud. And it wasn't that she couldn't afford this machine. She just genuinely felt like she didn't deserve it. So the beauty for me is, yes, we're going to get your debt. We're going to have a debt plan. We're going to have a savings plan. We're going to have a budget you can stick to. And that's great. But for me, that's secondary to this internal work that we get to do while going through all of that.
And that internal work will spread out into other aspects of your life.
Yeah, and to your family and to your friends. Because if you heal what's happening in a woman, it changes a community. Because we're the spokes.
Ebony, thank you for keeping it real and showing us that budgeting isn't about saying no to everything. It's about saying yes to the life that you actually want to have. This episode of Unstoppable was brought to you by me, Paula Swain, financial planner and founder of the Financial Center for Women. If you're ready to take the next step with your money, whether it's budgeting, credit repair, or retirement planning, I'd love to help. So join us next week when we will be joined by Tara with Origin Coaching. She's going to be talking about the mindset. I was right. So we're going to help you deal with some burnout and some stress. And as always, dream, grow, and thrive. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Unstoppable. Do you have a question for Paula? Send it our way. To schedule a one-on-one consultation, give us a call. Unstoppable is brought to you by Paula Swain and the Financial Center for Women. Dream, grow, thrive.